Ah, yes, you have ordered your carriage at 8 o'clock precisely? I have. You intend visiting Il Coliseo? You mean the Colosseum? It is the same thing. You have told your coachman to leave the city by the Porta del Popolo, to drive round the walls, and re-enter by the Porta San Giovanni? These are my words exactly. Well, this route is impossible. Impossible. Very dangerous, to say the least. Dangerous. And why? On account of the famous Luigi Vampa. Pray, who may this famous Luigi Vampa be? Inquired Albert. He may be very famous at Rome, but I can assure you he is quite unknown at Paris. What? Do you not know him? I have not that honor. You have never heard his name? Never. Well, then, he is a bandit, compared to whom the Decessoris and the Gasperones were mere children. Now then, Albert, cried Franz, here is a bandit for you at last. I forewarn you, Signor Pastrini, that I shall not believe one word of what you are going to tell us. Having told you this, begin. Once upon a time, well, go on. Signor Pastrini turned toward Franz, who seemed to him the more reasonable of the two. We must do him justice, he had had a great many Frenchmen in his house, but had never been able to comprehend them. Excellency, said he gravely, addressing Franz, if you look upon me as a liar, it is useless for me to say anything, it was for your interest. Albert does not say you are a liar, Signor Pastrini, said Franz, but that he will not believe what you are going to tell us, but I will believe all you say, so proceed. But if your Excellency doubt my veracity. Signor Pastrini, returned Franz, you are more susceptible than Cassandra, who is a prophetess, and yet no one believed her, while you, at least, are sure of the credence of half your audience. Come, sit down, and tell us all about this Signor Vampa. I had told your Excellency he is the most famous bandit we have had since the days of Mastrilla. Well, what has this bandit to do with the order I have given the coachman to leave the city by the Porta del Popolo, and to re-enter by the Porta San Giovanni? This, replied Signor Pastrini, that you will go out by one, but I very much doubt your returning by the other. Why? Asked Franz. Because, after nightfall, you are not safe 50 yards from the gates. On your honor, is that true? Cried Albert. Count, returned Signor Pastrini, hurt at Albert's repeated doubts of the truth of his assertions. I do not say this to you, but to your companion, who knows Rome, and knows, too, that these things are not to be laughed at. My dear fellow, said Albert, turning to Franz, here is an admirable adventure. We will fill our carriage with pistols, blunderbusses, and double-barreled guns. Luigi Vampa comes to take us, and we take him, we bring him back to Rome, and present him to His Holiness the Pope, who asks how he can repay so great a service. Then we merely ask for a carriage and a pair of horses, and we see the carnival in the carriage, and doubtless the Roman people will crown us at the Capitol, and proclaim us, like Curtius and the veiled Horatius, the preservers of their country. Whilst Albert proposed this scheme, Signor Pastrini's face assumed an expression impossible to describe. And pray, asked Franz, where are these pistols, blunderbusses, and other deadly weapons with which you intend filling the carriage? Not out of my armory, for at Terracina I was plundered even of my hunting knife. I shared the same fate at Acquapendente. Do you know, Signor Pastrini, said Albert, lighting a second cigar at the first, that this practice is very convenient for bandits, and that it seems to be due to an arrangement of their own. Doubtless Signor Pastrini found this pleasantry compromising, for he only answered half the question, and then he spoke to Franz, as the only one likely to listen with attention. Your Excellency knows that it is not customary to defend yourself when attacked by bandits. What? Cried Albert, whose courage revolted at the idea of being plundered tamely, not make any resistance. No, for it would be useless. What could you do against a dozen bandits who spring out of some pit, ruin, or aqueduct, and level their pieces at you? Parbleu! They should kill me. The innkeeper turned to Franz with an air that seemed to say, Your friend is decidedly mad. My dear Albert, returned Franz, your answer is sublime, and worthy to let him die, of Corneille, only, when Horace made that answer, the safety of Rome was concerned, But, as for us, it is only to gratify a whim, and it would be ridiculous to risk our lives for so foolish a motive. Albert poured himself out a glass of Lacrima Christi, which he sipped at intervals, muttering some unintelligible words. "Well, Signor Pastrini," said Franz, "now that my companion is quieted, and you have seen how peaceful my intentions are, tell me, who is this Luigi Vampa?" "Is he a shepherd or a nobleman? Young or old? Tall or short?" "Describe him, in order that, if we meet him by chance, like Bugaboo John or Lara, we may recognize him." "You could not apply to any one better able to inform you on all these points, for I knew him when he was a child, and one day that I fell into his hands, going from Ferentino to Alatri, he, fortunately for me, recollected me, and set me free, not only without ransom, but made me a present of a very splendid watch, and related his history to me." "Let us see the watch," said Albert. Signor Pastrini drew from his fob a magnificent brigand, bearing the name of its maker, of Parisian manufacture, and a count's coronet. "Here it is," said he. "Peste," returned Albert. "I compliment you on it. I have its fellow." He took his watch from his waistcoat pocket, "and it cost me 3,000 francs.